How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully, everyone is having a lovely day. So, the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't think there's a secret about it. They're looking to target a tight end in this year's NFL draft. We've seen them go and meet with multiple of the top rated prospects in this year's draft as far as tight ends are concerned. We've seen them meet with Washington, Mayer, Laporta, Kincaid, just to name a few. Clearly an interest for the Bengals trying to pick up one of these tight ends. The question then now becomes, when are they trying to pick up a tight end? They're in a very interesting spot in the draft because a lot of the times you may see one tight end come off the board. Rarely, but you do see sometimes two. And sometimes you don't see one at all come off the board in the first round of the NFL draft. Quite often, really, where you might just see one. And with that being said, you look and say Mayer, Washington, you want to throw in Kincaid. You look at some of these guys and say, hey, the Bengals feel really good about number 2 or number 3 or maybe number 4 at tight end. You're not going to reach for number 3 or 4 in the first round. But if they're a slam dunk saying we got to have Washington or we have to have Michael Mayer here, you say, all right, okay, take a step back. When are these guys going to fall off the board? If you go to number 28 and they're both available, do you really start questioning if the Bengals trade back here? Or do you question more, do the Bengals look at this board and say, is there a tackle? I think you have to, this is number 1. I think you have to look at number 20 and say, is there a tackle we feel very confident about that may have slipped, or a guy that we felt very strongly about going to this draft that is our guy? You have Collins and you have Williams, both of which did not have the best of seasons. Collins, you don't know about the injuries with Collins. It's hard to depend on that. That's a concern. So if you can replace a tackle or get a guy the next man up, you know, your future, I don't want to say franchise, but that'd be nice, franchise tackle, then you go after that. But you see all the tackles fall off the board, a very coveted position in the draft, and you say, all right, now let's take a step back and say, what do we really need there? Is there a CB we really like? Is there a defensive lineman we really like? Then it's like, okay, let's talk. Let's lean in that direction. I think the Bengals you definitely need to see this Bengals team win in the trenches more. This defense has been dominant, but can you imagine this defense, if they can get some pressure on the quarterback, they're gonna be more than dominant. They're gonna be more than a championship worthy defense. So yeah, you stop and you think about that stuff and say, how much does it cost the Bengals to just go out there and pick up a tight end in free agency? Because you don't want to call them a dime a dozen, but they're a dime a dozen. The way I always like to think about it, as far as drafting a tight end in the first round is concerned, is first of all, one, is a tight end the reason the Bengals didn't win a Super Bowl the last 2 years? No. So what was it? You attack the need. 2, just like the running back position, how many tight ends are the highest paid player on their team, with the exception of quarterback, of course? How many tight ends can say that compared to a wide receiver or an offensive tackle? You know, there's a reason. And you say you got to put a value on the tight ends. There's a reason. Every single year, we're only seeing 1 or 2 tight ends maximum taken in the first round. They don't hold the same value as other positions. You have to be very mindful of that when you're drafting in the draft. If you say, can the Bengals pick these guys up later? Are they passing up on guys that could make an impact on this team right now, that need to make an impact on this team right now, that could help them win a Super Bowl in other positions in order to get a tight end? And for that reason, I stop and think and say, there's no reason to believe a guy like Laporta can't fall 2nd, 3rd round to the Bengals. Especially if I think option 3 is they say, hey, let's see what we can get at 28. There's a guy we love. And you can trade up a little bit in the 2nd round if you have to. You see your guys falling off the board. Or you can trade up a little bit in the 3rd round if you have to. You see guys falling off the board. Because again, I think if you look at the Bengals, you say, hey, we can we can get a tackle we love. We can get a defensive line, an elite pass rushing, potentially elite pass rushing defensive lineman we love. You fill the tight end void that can pass block and catching, or squeak out of there and catch some balls. Then you look and say, that's your 3 big needs. Now, if you can just, if you have to do that in the first 3 rounds, you can do that in the first 3 rounds. Then you say, okay, if you can just pick up a running back in a 4th-ish, 5th-ish, and possibly some depth wide receiver, the punter talk out there, obviously that's a 7th round pick kind of thing. But I think you look and say, you get those big 3 needs taken care of, the 3 locks. That's a big thing about a draft, too. It's easy to look at the draft now and feel like we feel so confident about all these guys. But if you can get 3 of these players to be roster players, starters 3 years from now, you're doing good in the draft, all things considered. So, that being said, I'm leaning Bengals take tight end 2nd, 3rd round. Again, I don't want to reach for anybody in the first round, knowing if that's your best available on the board, tight end in the first round, they'd go for it. But I want to think something other than tight end first round. That's like your fallback plan. Would love to see second round. Would really love to see third. Again, it really depends on how these tight ends fall off the board and the guys that the Bengals believe in here. I mean, because they're still available late second, then you start questioning who isn't out there or who else is out there. And you really start to think about things. But I like second, third round draft pick for our tight end this year for the Bengals. We'll see though. Love your guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.